And we are live on Twitch with
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is the 29th.
Yeah,
Almost 30. Almost 30.
almost 30.
nine, yeah,
Oh, getting a reverb.
nine,
Hold on. Little technical difficulties, folks. There we go.
Getting a little bit of an echo from Dustin.
Whew.
But if you
I don't
didn't
know
hear it
who
the
that
six
was.
times, though, it is the 29th episode.
Yeah, I was hearing myself and it was confusing me. Well, anyway, folks, as I was saying before I was interrupted, this is the 29th episode. Yes, almost 30. Almost 30. It's such a milestone. I'm just kidding. But anyway, of course, I'm Dustin Garman. This is my buddy Jeffrey Fox, and today's episode, and I guess the best way to say this is it's all for the ladies.
Yeah,
Because we got Greg Shockley, aka the Luxurious Hobby.
yeah, man.
In the-
yeah,
How you doing today?
So, how's it going, Greg?
good, good. Ready for 2021, ready to see what the new year brings. I know still carry over from last year. The change of calendar doesn't mean a whole lot, but it, mentally it lets you maybe change gears a little bit.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is the Twitch chat is already firing out with the questions.
Oh,
So
Lord.
why don't we get a couple of them done? We'll start
Right?
with Evil Ed, who has the question of cheese or pickle. What does Harvey Luster like?
Cheese or pickle, as in like to eat.
Yeah,
I mean, you
I
can do whatever
guess.
you want with them. I
Well,
mean,
I don't know. Maybe we should ask Harvey what Harvey likes. Uh, Harvey Luster is not really, particulars about his food because Harvey Luster is always dining in the company of the ladies. So Harvey just lets them choose what they want off the menu in order and tries to accommodate and eat the same thing so they don't feel guilty about what they eat.
all right. All right. So I'm gonna get back to Canoli's question in a second after I go through a couple of these either or. Uh, the Kirk Polka would like to know whether you would prefer a pineapple or a sheep.
Uh, Prefer a pineapple or a sheep.
Yeah, pineapple or sheep, man.
I'm hoping this is not a sexual question. Um,
I mean,
Oh
you're.
Lord, we've been doing this for like 20 episodes.
I mean,
I think I would stay away from both in that aspect. Uh, but Kirk knows Harvey Luster's NWO. He's wearing the red and black plaid. He's running with Wooly Bully and the black sheep. You know, you know, wood for sheep, baby.
All
That's for all those Catan players out there.
right. And Eel Ed's next either or is fox or Christmas tree.
Fox or Christmas tree.
Yeah. Also, hopefully not for sexual
Yeah,
purposes.
I was gonna say, yeah, hopefully not also. But I gotta go with Fox because at least I can have a conversation with you. The tree just it's there.
I mean, I've had good conversations with trees before. And Schmidt's just popping in. And off. All right. And so Canoli's question was three favorite male and female wrestlers.
Okay. Three favorite male wrestlers, I have to say
I have to turn my
Shawn Michaels,
Streamlabs off.
Joey Ryan, and probably, a little bit of a surprise for folks because he's not a big name, but I always liked watching Mikey Whipwreck.
Okay.
Um, female wrestlers, female wrestlers, I don't know. There's so many of them that have ups and downs. Like they have points in their career where they're really great and points where they're down. Um, I'm a huge fan of Nikki Cross. Uh, Kind of stay in WWE. I'm also a fan of Alexa Bliss. I mean, a woman as tiny as she is and competing seems like always with women much larger, and she avoids injury and avoids injuring her opponents.
Mhm.
Um, and then, I mean, for a third one, that's like just wide open. I mean, I'd have to go with like a Lundra Blaze. Have to look at one of the women that kind of paved the way. One of the pioneers.
Yeah, made in the USA, baby.
That's right.
Yeah,
Heck, she even drove a monster truck. Hey, don't laugh. No, no, she was actually on the
yeah,
pro circuit and
yeah,
had her own
Oh,
monster.
I got you. I was
yeah,
thinking about that. She's got my vote.
yeah. You always think you see wrestlers from those eras coming back, and she's one of the ones that you could probably still like kick ass if she ever really
Probably,
wanted to.
yeah.
Oh, Evil Ed saying it wasn't a Christmas tree; it meant to be the cannoli, so it was supposed to be Fox or cannoli.
Fox or Canola?
Yeah,
Man, I can't pick between the two of you guys. I
yeah.
mean, I play against you and hang out with you guys in the Zooms, and we've been in events with both of you. It's just kind of doesn't matter either or.
Yeah. All right. Young Allergy would like to know the favorite logo you've designed.
Favorite logo I've designed. Oh man, so there's three that are really, I almost want to say near and dear to my heart. Three that are just ones that I really love the finished product. One of them, for personal reasons, was the Matt Stevens logo. Just the things I incorporated into it. The collector, that as far as was just original concept, had no idea going into it what to use for the logo. But I would say finished product, just as like have it on a T-shirt, have it on the wall. Favorite has to be the Mayor of Slamtown. It was one of the first ones I did, and just the amount of detail and the just finished product, the way it all came together was just awesome.
Oh, that's cool. All right. So Kirk Polka wants to know your favorite competitors to play as, excluding Merlin, Hamish, and Sage.
Excluding
Yeah.
Merlin, Henderson, Sage. Woo!
So it's like he answered his own question and then wanted to like be the next
Who's,
tier down.
who's your favorite competitor playing that doesn't have 10 power? That's basically what he should have just said. Because I
Yeah.
can tell you right now, I love playing Man from IT. Uh, Getting away from the 10 power, but it's a 9 power. I like playing Mercenator.
Okay.
Another one that I really enjoy is Silver Marvel. I've got a really unusual mean deck with Silver Marvel that has surprised a few folks recently.
Yeah. All right. So while we pause from the Twitch questions for a second, we should probably get into how did you get into the game?
That's a really good question. So a lot of folks don't know I'm a Boy Scout leader. Have been a scout leader for over 20 years now. Actually, right now I'm leader for Venturing Crew, so teenage boys and girls. And one of the things that I ran into was our outings. We had kids wanting to play games and wanting to play like Magic the Gathering. Well, one boy shows up and his dad used to own a game shop. So he's got this massive collection of Magic cards, carrying like a $400+ tournament deck, and he's just stomping the floor with all the other kids because they're just building what they can build. And that went on for a little while. When we'd go out on outings, we'd go out somewhere, sit at a picnic table, they'd play, or we'd just sit somewhere out, throw a harp on the ground. And then next thing you know, he was like, "Hey, who wants to play Magic?" And the other kids are like, "No, I didn't bring my cards," or "No, I don't want to play," or whatever. And then he's coming to me, because he's like, "Man, I don't understand why nobody wants to play." He's like, "Well, dude, you've hurt their feelings because you were playing a little too aggressive with the tournament deck, and they weren't playing with stuff quite that strong or competitive. And so they got tired of kind of losing and getting beat up
Mhm.
on. So now your feelings are hurt." And I was looking at the local shop at Comic Book World and talking with Jacob, and he actually suggested Super Show, taking a look at it. It's got the dice element into it. And so I bought a starter, took it with me on the next outing, and we tried it. And my kids loved it. In fact, my niece, who's in my crew now, like first game she played, she won by countouts. And I hadn't played the game. I was still learning the rules too, and it was just like, yeah, I think if you win the next roll, you win. And she did it. And, it was just kind of crazy seeing that, going, wait, that's possible. I'm used to games where you run out of cards and lose.
Yeah.
And the dice element made it original. So I got my kids playing it and went back into the shop one day wanting to buy some more and just get more decks, get starters just to have so we could play tag teams and stuff. And I think Kirk and Shane were in the shop, and Jacob called him over and was telling me that they had a tournament coming up on Saturday, like the following week. So I ended up, hey, you know what? I'm going to give it a try instead of just the kids playing and playing with me and being a fun thing. I'll just see what these guys do and see what tournament settings like. No, no expectations, just jump into it for fun. And of course, I met all the guys from KSW. Well, not all, but most of them. So I got to meet, of course, the guys here in Louisville, and I got to meet Dustin and King Pink and King Snow and a lot of those guys, or King Cold. I'm sorry, I said King Snow. I was thinking Keith Snow. Keith Snow wasn't in the group, wasn't with them quite yet. But yeah, I got to meet all those guys, and I think Anarchy's son too. Got to meet Michael Bailey. It was just an awesome experience being new and the way everybody just kind of sucked me in. And I walked out of there, I think, with an extra like 14 or 15 cards because I know Dustin donated like 3 or 4 cards. And that was for the deck I was playing that day. And other people were just donating stuff, throwing cards at me. And I was kind of from that point seeing the tournament setting of it, all the different competitors and gimmicks, and how much everybody else put into their deck building and stuff. I was just hooked.
All right.
And I'll say personally, go all the times we went up there, that comic book world was a blessing in disguise because there for a while I was trying to get stores down here to which it was, the dynamics down here, Louisville is much bigger, than, our towns around here.
Yeah.
So when comic book came around and I started seeing y'all grow, it made me want to keep going there. I wish I could have made it every weekend because y'all's store was just, Jacob runs it so good, and it was a blessing in disguise just to have y'all store open, and
Oh,
which y'all were so welcoming.
yeah, and it's a big deal having somebody like Jacob that enjoys the game and appreciates the people playing it and really works to support it. He's got a really strong fan base for Dragon Ball Super, and he's had a couple other games, I think like Keyforge and Flesh and Blood, which is a game that our own Ian Kinderdine, Man from Tomorrow, has been
Mhm.
involved with helping develop. And so Jacob, has found some of those things that he sees the potential in them and sees people wanting to play it, and he tries to encourage it, and that's awesome. That he basically is building those communities. That whole build it and they will come. Well, it's
Yeah.
unlock the door and they will come. He's opened the doors and the groups just congregate because they need a place to play.
All right. So to jump back to the Twitch chat, we got a couple questions queued up. SRG Universe would like to know your favorite breakfast sandwich. I believe it's Schmidt behind the account currently.
Favorite breakfast sandwich?
Yep.
I don't really eat sandwiches for lunch, so it's gonna end up being like a fried egg sandwich or uh, egg McMuffin or something of that sort. I mean, it's just not something that I can really say I put much thought into.
If it is Smith behind this, I would say knuckle sandwich. No, I'm just kidding.
And the phenomenal one would like to know your favorite comic book character sheep. I don't know if he meant specifically sheep, but he put a sheep in there, so I read it the way it's written.
Oh, I was gonna say, uh, comic book character sheep. I don't know if I know any sheep that are comic book characters, like any that have like names that are identified or anything. But favorite comic book character
I'm sure there's an
is
Archie
gonna be
something.
Green Arrow.
Okay.
So if somebody's got that question, I've got posters up on the wall over here. I could probably turn the camera and show you guys. Um, you can see those are promo posters from the comic book shops when Green Arrow comics were coming out and being released. Each time they had new titles, new storylines. Um, at one time, I was the largest collector of Green Arrow comics and merchandise in the U.S.
Oh wow, that is
Yeah, I was
definitely
started collecting Green Arrow back in like '92, I think, 1993,
okay.
before he was popular.
Fair, fair. I mean, he really until the TV show, he wasn't really like super uh like poppy. I mean, now obviously once the TV show came out, like everyone loves Stephen Amell and things like that. But my
Yeah,
favorite Green Arrow is always from the Dark Knight Returns, the one-armed
yeah, he
Green
was
Arrow with the Kryptonite arrow.
very much underappreciated.
Yeah.
The character actually in '87 when they did the Longbow Hunters,
Hmm.
little kind of it was a series of three trade paperbacks that Mike Grell did. They got away from the whole superhero concept and more of the just guy with a bow and arrow, not even like trick arrows, fighting crime. And when they went to release following that, and it took off enough people wanted it, they actually released that as a title. So in '89, basically, that fall started a whole new series, and it was the first mainstream comic that had a M rating for mature readers.
Hmm. Yeah.
So for
Which
Marvel, DC, any of those big guys, that was the first one that had to have that rating on it.
yeah. And I mean, people who go back and look at that and Longbow Hunters and the themes in that, like, if it wasn't for that, you probably never would have gotten Arrow as a TV show. For the people who are fans of that,
Right.
because that really set the
Yeah, because
way
it
for him to
definitely
go
built
from
off of it.
yeah, he went from goofy guy with trick arrows who was I mean who that's underselling his like 70s and 80s runs with like heavily into politics and
Politics.
stuff like that, which also people don't. But to
Yeah,
be fair, most comics in the
in the
70s had a lot of
30s,
politics. But yeah,
yeah, in the '30s and so on, he
yeah,
was basically a Robin Hood version of Batman
yeah,
that had every kind of little gadget and trick and was in the little short strips. And then they revamped him in '63 and started focusing on him as a character, being a liberal character, because you had Superman and Green Lantern and all these guys
Hmm.
that were carry the American flag and ultra conservatism and the law and government, you should obey them and listen to them. And they were like, you know what, we need somebody with a liberal voice and
yeah,
to speak out about questioning some of this. And so that's the reason they did the pairing with Green Lantern and Green Arrow. And that kind of became the thing for him for a long time, was less about his heroics and more about his stance on things, that he was always that guy in the Justice League that was brushing people the wrong way and questioning Superman, you know.
yeah. Oh yeah. And in some ways,
But we
he
didn't come here to
almost
talk comics.
yeah. Right, yeah, that's true. But yeah, I was gonna say in some ways he
I could
almost
I
fit
could
in
I
better
could I
with
could
Marvel.
go through
Yeah,
history on Green Arrow comics for
yeah,
hours.
yeah. And it is actually one that I do know a little bit about myself too, which is ironic. All right, so Dustin, get back to Super Show questions.
Well, what I was gonna ask you is, because I'm not gonna lie, Harvey Lester's kind of like a superhero that I like to watch on the promos. How did Harvey Lester come in the Super Show?
All right, so just being around the guys in Louisville and talking with everybody, it was like, you know what? Some guys already have their characters in the game. I didn't even know the CCC existed. I knew you could purchase a character, but I came in literally right after the create a character competition and Kickstarter had ended. So I missed out a little bit and didn't know what was going on for almost a year, but decided that I wanted to start playing a character and was going to start trying to do some videos and just have fun with it. And I tried to think about what kind of character I wanted to do. And, I thought at first of the like Joey Ryan or the Shawn Michaels character. And I thought, you know what? I want like a caricature of that. You know, what would be the funniest scenario? And so I kind of leaned a little bit on the ladies' man from Saturday Night Live, but I was like, I got to be PG. I can't be talking about, you know, in the butt. Yeah. I can't be running with all that stuff all the time. And so then I just started trying to put together things that I thought were kind of a little ridiculously silly. I mean, obviously, red hair, red beard, you know, light complexion. I'm not gonna be a dude that's tanned, sitting at the beach wearing Hawaiian print clothes and stuff. And so it's a little contradictory for me to do that. And then the whole personality was like, you know what? I'm a short, goofy looking little guy. It was like, if we play it up that it's like the ladies love him and he loves the ladies, people are like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Why would And kind of really ran with it. The name actually came from some genealogy research that my sister had done years ago, where my family name on my mother's side is Gregory. That's where my first name came from. And there was a relative that was an ancestor named Harvey Luster Gregory. And as a teenager, I was like, you know what? That's awesome. That name is just kind of a little goofy, but a little catchy. And I'm like, Harvey Luster, like I would take that name, like someday that will be a pseudonym. I'll become an author or I'm going to do something. I'll become an actor, whatever. And I'm going to use that. So when I started trying to come up with a name, that just popped into my head, like 15 years later, it's just like, hey, there it is. Like it had been sitting there waiting. I couldn't remember what I had for breakfast, but I remembered that, you know? And then I decided to add the voice to make it a little bit more kind of over the top because, I like doing voices. And so I thought about, the ladies' man, and I thought, Dusty Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes had a little bit of a thick tongue, had a little bit of this, dropping that atomic elbow. And even George Foreman, because George Foreman says things is ludicrous. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take all of those little elements, the mispronunciations of things, the thick tongue, the little lisp, even the little higher pitch, because that's not a typical like manly thing to have that higher pitch voice. And I'm like, I'm just going to mesh all of that together and see what happens. And just ran with it.
Yeah.
Now, the cool thing that like I see your promos and you're talking now, of course, when you switch to Harvey, when when you change that voice like so quick, it's
So
awesome to me because I know, for myself when I do promos or when I used to do like GPS promos, I had to take a minute and think like way before I was going to do these promos. So it's pretty cool to see you automatically just switch to Harvey like instantly.
yeah, it's something that just over time I got so comfortable doing that voice characterization. And I was like, I can't sit and rehearse a script of what I'm going to say. I'm not that kind of person. So when I go to do promos, I have a general idea of what I want to say.
Hmm.
Maybe I have a few kind of little catchphrases, key things I want to throw out. And then from there, I just go into that mode and mispronunciations of things, words coming out all wrong, like that's all on the fly. Just that's Harvey. That's not me trying to do it. It's just happening as I'm going, stumbling over the words, but I'll still get the key point out. And it is easier for me that way to be able to just do it on the fly
Hmm.
because then Harvey Lester can just pop out at any moment and nobody knows what's going to happen. Harvey Lester is just what's the sporanius, sponsius, yeah. Harvey Lester is all over that stuff and the vocabulary. Harvey Lester has the most immaculate vocabulary, and it just comes out so natural that I can just sputter and spit stuff out and somehow string it together. If I were
See,
thinking about it, it wouldn't happen.
See, KSW, when I was with them, we used to do that. We would write down, well, and some things that I need to say in this promo to make it better. And I'm kind of like with you, I would be on the fly as well. So now I can't do that voice right now, granted, like you can, which is awesome. I can't do GPS right now because I literally had to like I gotta get in that mindset of that character and what he's feeling at the time. Like if I'm doing a like a promo against somebody right then, I've got to think what this my character's thinking about this this other play or this competitor I should say. and that's how you build storylines. But I know for me, when I used to do promos as well on the fly, I would go back after I finish, and everything I said was myself, like me doing it. I would go back to the list, and half the time they'd be like, "Hey, you forgot to mention all this," and so I can relate to that, and it's pretty cool that you can, like I said, you can switch to that character so instantly with that voice and everything.
You know what that proves, right? That just proves that I'm a little bit crazier than the DPS, man. Just being able to switch in and out that quick. Maybe that just means something's a little miswired up here. Who knows?
At least you know I'm not all that crazy in real life.
All right. Switching back to the Twitch chat, Kirk Polka would like to ask you, how does it feel to finally be on a competitor card with making the Big Ballers trio?
Dude, that feels awesome. I was glad that Kirk went in with me on that. That was something that, I can't afford to go in on a singles competitor myself. I couldn't afford it when it was much cheaper, and the prices just kind of, kept going up with the supply and demand, I guess you'd say.
Hmm.
But wasn't sure I'd ever even get to see the Harvey Luster logo or get to see it actually any form of him in print. Of course, I'm in this year's CCC. Haven't started promos and started my part of the first round yet, so I'm sure it's coming up soon. But being able to do the trio, I wanted to do one with Matt, and my original intention was to see if I could get Shane to do one, but Shane I think has one coming out and had something going with somebody else, and I was thinking Matt already had a trio with him and Kirk and Mike Bailey, and I was looking at if I could get Shane and him and myself because I know him and Shane both played Dragon Ball Super, and now I haven't played competitively, but Kirk and I both played that. And I was looking at doing something that was more Dragon Ball related than Super Show related in the theme for him, hence the name.
Hmm.
And couldn't get Shane on it, but Kirk went in with me on it to help make it affordable so that we could do it. So I mean, it's great to be able to do that for Matt, and at the same time to be able to again get the Harvey Lester logo on a competitor card of some sort and get the imagery. For those who haven't seen it, Harvey Lester's there in the full low cut, wrestling singlet, got the floral print down the side, because ladies love the floral prints, and it's obvious when you see it. It's Harvey Lester. So to me, that's just awesome to actually get to see that come to life.
Now, also, y'all were I believe, or it might have been, I can't remember which one was first, but it might have been the jackknife powerbomb. But when y'all made the sheep shooter, was that your idea? Because I know, you're on it, of course.
Yeah, it was something that Kirk and I we talked about doing. That the submission one kind of just came about, I guess, kind of on a little bit of a whim. But we were
Hmm.
looking at continuing the line. So Jackknife was already out, and the Frog Splash were already out. So we were looking at, hey, we need to do these other skills, and Steve probably, if we convince him to do them, will, you know, jump on
Hmm.
board because there's no reason that some competitors should have an advantage others don't. And
Hmm.
we talked about like, okay, we'll do the third one, we'll do technique, so there'll be that set of three. Well, problem is none of us really played competitors at the time that we would even really want to use the card for, and we were thinking about tying it in as a promo for Plaid Saturday. And the sheep shooter name came about from a joke. Dustin probably remembers some of this, where
Hmm.
just we all, it didn't matter who you were running. If you played anybody who was not Rising Sun, your submission finish in Louisville at one time was sharpshooter.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Everybody had a schoolboy and a sharpshooter,
you
and
you you mentioned schoolboy too. That's very funny because none of us are around here was actually using schoolboy, and I remember going to Louisville and we were like astounded because we kept getting hit with it. We didn't expect that from y'all.
oh yeah, schoolboy I mean, Apocalypse is earth shattering when it came out, but prior to that, the only card that could do that, to clear the board that quick, was
Mm-hmm.
Schoolboy. And nobody played it expecting to win with the finish with it. It was, I'm going to wipe the board clear because you're either going to get pinned or you're going to kick out, and I'm going to draw
Mm-hmm.
two cards. So Schoolboy is literally Apocalypse draw two, and that's what we used it for. We were running it. You had a competitor that could not run a really good like strike stop. Instead of waiting for somebody like Snake Pit who could recur like a snake bite and keep throwing it at you,
Mm-hmm.
you would clear that board with a Schoolboy as fast as you could just to set him back so he'd have to get the follow ups back out of play, or if he'd at least have to play the card as a lead.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I mean that was kind of a strategy thing that just we went nuts with. But yeah, we would play a sharpshooter, and I think Kirk may have been the first one that did it. That when he played it, he called it. He just said sheep shooter, and we all started laughing. We're like, dude, what? And it kind of stuck. It became a thing that every time we played a sharpshooter, we would say that. So when we were looking at a card, it was like, you know what? This is what it has to be. And then we decided to do submission instead of technique. So we didn't follow out the original trio.
Mm-hmm.
But we went with submission because we were looking at all the competitors we played had like 8 or 9 submission at the time. And it was like, you know what? Everybody's going to use this. There weren't as many high technique competitors in the game at the time. So we didn't think the technique one was going to sell well. It wasn't going to be something people wanted. And then when I started trying to do the art, was trying to come up with something, and I didn't want to just copy a sharpshooter and make art of it. I wanted something that was different. And at that time, I don't think anybody other than maybe Pop and Twist, which
Mm-hmm.
actually I think he's in here in the room watching. I think Derek was the only competitor out at the time that had a cloverleaf finish maneuver, and that's actually a favorite finishing maneuver of mine. Um, I actually did a little amateur for a little while, and just really as far as being able to lock that in and put that on people, it's easier than a Boston crab. It's a much more secure hold that you're not somebody's knees and ankles and legs dangling everywhere. You really, once you lock those legs in, you have a lot of support on them. So in that family of submission holds, it's one of the easier ones to pull off. It's more secure because I mean they're already hard. Any of those moves where you're trying to bend the person's backpack because you're trying to step over and turn them over and not fall forward yourself and not let go of a leg or what have you, like just complexity of the move. That one to me was one that I enjoyed doing when I was younger, and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go with that one. And who cares what sheep shooter is if it's not a sharpshooter or a leg based thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still kind of like leg based submission, but
Yeah.
you know,
Uh,
your own thing.
so Practicite in the Twitch chat said we should have a segment dating advice from Harvey Luster.
Yes.
Dating advice from oh man.
I
So
can use this later on, folks.
Harvey Luster has to tell you, yesterday evenings, Harvey Luster wanted to go by the grocery stores because he knew he was going to be here tonight. And when he got in the line, there was a lady with a whole car full of groceries, and of course, Harvey Luster is trying to be COVID safe and not expose all the ladies to any risk. So his grocery shopping is kind of like once a month. Harvey Luster is like rolling out with like a Humvee full of groceries every month, once a month, and the illustrious one hears a tapping and kind of looks back, and there's this young teenage gentleman, had to be about 17, maybe close to 18, standing behind him and tapping his foot, and he's only got 2 items in his hand. And as soon as the lady in front of Harvey checked out, The illustrious one's like, hey, go ahead, check this young gentleman out, let him go, because the rest of the line's going to wait just as long between the two of us. But there's no reason for him to wait behind Harvey. And of course, he tried to play it cool and all. Was like, yeah, I'm not in any big hurry, man. It's no big deal. But Harvey Lustin knows better, because any young man who's buying a gift card to the cheesecake, a $50 gift card to the Cheesecake Factory, and a can of pomade is going somewhere. And Harvey Luster is not one to disappoint the ladies. So yeah, true story. Let the guy go in front of me, because I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, he's getting ready to go somewhere. He's getting his hair gel and a gift card to go out to dinner somewhere. Yeah, yeah. But it was like, you know what? No sense in him waiting behind me, and I'm just gonna let him go ahead and check out and go. So that
Go
was
get
kind of
it,
my
Tiger.
confusion.
Isn't that like self checkouts though, so you can just get out and get out to your date?
At this day and age, the self checkouts, man, you might as well wait in the normal lines at this point. There's so many people running through the self checkout. They're like 20 items or less. Cool, I got 20.
Yeah.
You know,
It seems like every time it never fails. Every time I go to a self checkout, it's always, please ask for assistance.
That just means you don't know what you're doing.
Well,
yeah. But keep in mind too.
or
Keep in mind the young man had a gift card. Them gift cards are a pain in the butt if you got to go through
yeah.
the self checkout, because you got to wait for the attendant to come do all that stuff anyway. You might as well just go
Mhm.
through the line and get it done.
I don't know. I mean, I'm in supermarkets almost every day, so like self checkout is usually the way to go for speed
Yeah,
and ease of use. But when you only got a couple things, never, never get in line behind the guy with the big order.
Or a couponer.
Well, sometimes they surprise you because they'll keep their book hidden, and then they pull out that like gigantic novel. It's War and Peace of couponing, and like 3 days later they're done,
yeah,
and your
that's the
bill
worst.
is 10 cents.
Yeah, but the worst couponer though is like the best couponer is the person who just waits until their stuff's all scanned, hands them their coupons, and just goes, here, just scan all those and be done with it.
Hmm.
The worst is the one that's like, oh, well, here's a coupon for that, and a coupon for that, and a coupon for that. And they're interrupting the cashier so they can't even scan and bag the goods, because they think they have to immediately apply the coupon
Well,
as
I
soon as they scan nothing.
that's the second worst. The worst one is the one that does that, but then when the cashier says, "Oh, well, you need to buy two of this," they're like, "Oh, hold up, let me go get the second one,"
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then he constantly comes back and forth getting the extra product. Yeah,
yeah, I will give you that one. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
read the coupons before you buy stuff. Anyway, that's completely different from Super Show, and that is, I mean, some people wanted dating advice, and now we got grocery advice from Harvey Luster, which can be the same thing in some occasions.
Yeah. But now on that note, talking about like coupons and waiting in line and buying stuff, we've had a lot of holiday deals and a lot of stuff on supershowthegame.com on the shop there. And there's
Yeah.
still deals, and we know we've got the New Japan Pro Wrestling competitors coming down the pipe soon.
Oh yeah.
Be mindful though, folks. Don't purchase all of your stuff when you are purchasing entry into a tournament unless you're aware that there may be a delay. If you're getting into a one-off event for that evening, you're fine. You'll get your promos and stuff as soon as the event's over with. But if it is a multi-day event or long-term, like we had the tag team tournament and stuff, if you get into that, anything that you purchase is going to be delayed, because they will not send your order out until everything is done,
Mhm.
including any prize support or promos from that event.
Or, or you could be the guy who isn't a big fan of their own Tornado tag team, and then intentionally puts it with their Cookies Fortune, so they wouldn't have to see the team for 6 months.
Yeah, yeah. Did you see how I segued into from shopping to Super Show
Yeah,
shopping, and a
yeah.
little plug there for the site and for upcoming stuff.
And speaking of, if you are shopping, make sure you buy tickets to Plaid Saturday, where you can get a copy of the Big Ballers, which is a
That's right.
$20 trios theme, and the entry to Plaid Saturday is only $20. So $20, you get a team that's definitely worth the $20, and you get a chance to win your own competitor. Like,
Yeah, I think your promos. I think if I saw in there is if there's a sheep
oh God,
shooter,
yeah,
smack with a shovel, and the big ballers.
yep, yeah. Any one of them is a good promo, and all three is just amazing. It's
Yeah,
probably the best value creative competitor I've seen in. I'll just leave it there. It's the best value creative competitor I've ever seen. 20
yeah.
bucks and three amazing promos.
It's not the best one ever. The original Plaid Saturday was probably the best ever.
Well, that
Yeah.
that was before my time, so.
Yeah, we were kind of groundbreaking with that. I don't want to take anything away from anybody else who has done any of the CAC events,
Mhm.
but the original Plaid Saturday, $30 entry because we needed to pre-sell and make sure that we
Hmm.
made the price for the first prize for the
Mhm.
creative competitor. At that time, it was 250, and then we had multiple promo cards, and we actually did what am I want to say? I was going to say raffles, wooden raffles, but we did like door prizes. So everybody who entered, whether you were there or you purchased, we had a lot of people just purchase entry knowing they weren't going to make the event to get the promos and to get their name thrown in the hat to get a chance at things. But we got a bunch of stuff, bunch of spectacles, CDs, all that stuff signed by Fozzy and Chris Jericho.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
And I think Shane had some like some figures and posters and things. I think that he had brought in, so we had stuff sent in by Bailey and maybe Sasha Banks. I can't even remember how much stuff.
I
Wow.
won the signed Fozzy CD. I was proud of that.
I got the Does the Impossible signed by Jericho and one of the CDs. That was pretty cool. That's actually a really good CD for anybody who's a fan of rock music.
Another cool thing that Jacob did, not only did like like with the prizes and stuff like that. I mean, the prizes were amazing. On top of that, you also had store credit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you got store credit and the prizes with that combined. I mean, it's totally worth it, folks.
I got to be honest with you. That is one of the most amazing events, amazing things that Jacob has ever pulled off. Because honestly, it was kind of like me and Kirk going, "Hey, dude, we got this really crazy idea. We want to do this. Make it happen." And the ideas kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And somehow Jacob was keeping things organized, keeping communication with like John and Steve to make everything happen, and pulled it off. But yeah, we just kept throwing more and more stuff in his lap. And I know Shane was involved with that too, with the brainstorm and like I said, getting some of the things that were the door prizes and stuff,
Hmm.
and helping organize it. So he was just as much in that boat with me and Kirk, just throwing things at Jacob, just going, here, I want to do this and this, and what about this, and can we add this? And so yeah, just amazing being able to pull that off. And you see where it went. Like everybody went, "Oh my God, you can do that!" Nobody had even considered that you could or that it would work. And then from there, they had a formula of, "Hey, this is what you have to do to make it happen," but you can go in any direction you want with it. And it's just amazing to see. I don't even know how many we've had now, but I'd say in the
And
last two and a half years, we've had almost 20, I would guess.
well, I know the first one, and if I ain't mistaken, we had y'all had over. I know the first one it was over 30. I think it was like 38 somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Don't ask me
almost
how I
30
remember that,
people.
but
Yeah, Jacob might know the numbers on it, but yeah, it was close to 40 people, and of course we had a lot that weren't there. A lot of
Mhm.
people that did the pre-order and helped us basically pay to have the event, to get the promos and get their chance at the prizes and stuff, knowing that we would have to ship things to them that they weren't going to be able to make it.
Yeah.
Because people ask, "Hey, can I register for the event even though I can't make it? I want the promos. I want that stuff."
Mhm. Makes sense. All right. So we got about 10, 20 minutes in the program left, and obviously we uh, we ramble about a lot of stuff. So Dustin, you got any specific questions you want to get before we ramble on for the rest of the show?
Is Twitch still going?
I mean,
I'm
it
just
is, but
wondering. I'm just wondering.
yeah, they haven't been asking that many
I just
questions
want I
recently.
just want to make sure everybody's getting their questions out.
Yeah, they went early first. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so one thing I want to say is, we talked about like at the very beginning, like how I was doing and saying like, 2021, it's a new year, still carrying over 2020, but I'm one of those guys that in the middle of a game, if I feel like a particular die is rolling bad, I'll switch dice.
Hmm.
May not make any difference at all, but psychologically, it makes me feel better. It makes me feel more positive that, hey, I'm switching, getting rid of this thing that is negative, even though I
Yeah.
know dice are random. Um, that's what 2021 needs to be for everybody. I know there's been ups and downs. 2020 was a bad year, for almost everybody, but you need to everybody in the whole SRG community, even people who may watch this on Twitch that aren't part of our community, just focus on that with 2020. It is that switch of the die. It is getting rid of that negative and just starting over. Leave that all behind. I personally had a really rough 2021, and I know there's other folks who've had some major health issues that had a rougher year than I did. We've even got a community member that's dealing with cancer,
Hmm.
and that's something that I really have no love for cancer. That's one of those things that if it were a physical being, man, I would throw hands so fast against cancer. Um, this year, between all of the other ups and downs, I had a close friend and mentor pass away this year. A lot of it had to do with the COVID restrictions in hospitals. He's had some organ transplants in the past and was due for another transplant and had complications and didn't survive. And a lot of it just had to do with how long it took him to get into the hospital and be able to actually get a transplant. That by the time he got the transplant, his body was already having so many issues that the rejection risk was super high. Um, had back like July 4th. Uh, that's something that you don't hear a lot. The worst day of 2020 for me this last year was July 4th, which for most people that's a day of celebration.
Yeah.
But my best friend of about 25 years, I'd say about a quarter of a century, almost 26 years. Um, he fought cancer for almost 13 years, and he was a long time, Boy Scout and Scouter. His sons are in scouting. His oldest is actually one of the teenagers in my unit. So I see him and I see his mother all the time. And yeah, my best friend Jeremy had fought cancer for a long time, and his health was really bad. And I got the news on July 4th that he had passed. So it's something that we could always have a worse year. I mean, we want to put put those things behind us if they happen, but we can't dwell on them. Heck,
Hmm.
the day my friend and mentor that I mentioned passing, the one with the organ transplant, um, I actually got the news that he passed while I was on the road from Bowling Green, or just south of Bowling Green, coming back to Louisville before the U.S. title tournament, and I kind of had to let it go. I mean, there's nothing you can really do. You've got to keep going, and nobody's telling you not to have your feelings, but express
Hmm.
your feelings and talk it out with people, but don't dwell on it. 2020 was a bad year, but 2020 is gone. Yesterday may have been a bad day, but yesterday's gone. You got tomorrow, and that's what everybody needs to do is look at that other die. Quit focusing on the one that was hurting you, and
Hmm.
focus on what the next one's going to be for you. So that's kind of my little rant, little thing, something that I thought about just doing a promo and just saying that, but I couldn't do it as Harvey. It would be out of character. So figured this was a good opportunity while it was on my mind.
Yeah, no, and it's something a lot of us probably should take into account.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate everything you said. It's like Christmas. I had two uncles pass away the week of Christmas. One of them was actually fixing to leave the hospital, like checked out and everything. They thought his surgery went well and everything, and had complications from it. Um, but yeah, 2020 was definitely a bad year for myself. But one thing I always try to tell myself is there's others that's got worse. Moving forward, I can't wait to see what 2021 has in store for us. I hope we can, I was talking to you yesterday, and I also I talked to your buddy Michael Bailey. Of course, I'm really close to him. I said I'm hoping y'all, here soon um, we can have more in-person, events and everything. Because I'm at least wanting to come up there once a month because I love y'all's store.
But yeah, that's the thing is I guess people don't realize, that that's part of what we're supposed to be here for too, is to hold
Hmm.
each other up as a community. Steve refers to the SRGT community as a family,
Mhm.
and a lot of people don't realize it. And I know Steve did his Steve Resk Award this year during the awards to try to recognize some people who were upstanding people and had done things to help others. And
Hmm.
it wasn't a award that you sought to earn. It was an award that was given for things that he saw or heard or recognized. Um, and not enough people, I guess, really pay attention to that stuff. I mean, 2019 wasn't even really a great year for some of us. A lot of you guys know 2019. I was a mean, nasty person. Didn't really even enjoy playing Super Show a whole lot, but it was kind of an escape for me because we lost Matt Stevens that January.
Hmm.
2 weeks after that, I lost my job when the company I was working for closed their whole facility out, and I spent several months unemployed. But that goes back into talking about the logos and stuff. Steve helped me out and commissioned doing logos for a lot of competitors. A huge number of the Kickstarter competitors that year I did logos for, and he commissioned those so that I basically would have money for groceries and things to kind of help out. And a lot of people don't realize that Steve and I don't talk a whole lot. We don't get to play against each other or hang out or any of that stuff because we're in two different states and so far apart. But
Mhm.
he was, hitting me up. Hey, I hear you're having trouble. I've got an idea. And that's what it's about. Is if you see somebody struggling, hit them up. Hey, you doing okay? Haven't heard from you in a little while. Want to play a game of Super Show? Just play for some fun, or do you need to talk? You know, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more of that this year. The people thinking about family,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we a lot of us know it and we say it, but it's hard to remember it sometimes. We get too competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely so as this pandemic and everything keeps going on, people are always under lots of stress, and some people it's better to talk. I mean, you're gonna have the people in the community who would rather not talk,
Yeah,
so give them obviously space. Uh, but like, yeah, I mean, this is a family, and people support each other, and it's a beautiful thing. Like, there's always people there for you if you need them. All right. So to get onto a lighter topic, I mean to finish this end of the show. Practice Site actually had a question about what would you want a Harvey Luster competitor card and finishes to be like? And I think that's a good thing to go into
okay, I can't really say a whole lot
because you don't want
because
people to steal your gimmick.
CCC coming up. Yeah, CCC is coming up here for me. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, get a chance to be up there and maybe make it through the first round. Um, but uh, I'm a huge fan of playing Merlin and Sage, so I'd like to see a gimmick where maybe be able to kind of combine those elements somehow. One of the other things is, I've played a lot of competitors, a lot of the older ones that had dice-based gimmicks, terminal gimmicks, Sage, Merlin, Man from IT, Mercenator, you name it. And
Mhm.
which
the keyword gimmicks are so strong because of the on-demand ability to choose when you can trigger them and use them. So, definitely would look at something where a gimmick could have some keywords. And as far as finishes, there would definitely be some little tricky little things that wouldn't necessarily be like I'm going to win and finish this, but would just be a little bit goofy or silly and have with the finishes much more the theme of Harvey Luster, things that maybe don't necessarily make sense, or just throw little curveballs in there just to make it entertaining.
okay, that's something I can appreciate. Now, having a crazy, wacky out there finisher can always be fun
Yeah,
when people least expect it.
um, yeah. I was gonna say you definitely have a crazy wacky finisher.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, sometimes I kind of regret it, like, because the last thing I hate, like, despite the possibility of winning on one turn and joking about it, it's not exactly as much fun for the game.
Yeah,
Because obviously, if like yes, it's pure luck based. Like, oh yeah, I accidentally I won on the first turn, but that just meant your opponent didn't get to play, and there's no fun in that really. So like, yeah, it's wacky in that, and it's kind of neat that way. But in the end, like, there's detriments to the way that one was built, and that
yeah. But
I didn't really foresee it when I built it.
yeah, but it's definitely fun, your
Yeah,
gimmick, and it's
yeah,
simple, and that's the
yeah.
big thing.
Oh
Having
yeah.
gimmicks that are simple are just more
Oh
fun
yeah.
to play, even if you're having a bad game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard to forget the gimmick, like when they're simple. Like for
Mhm.
all it's worth, Drew Gulak has a very simple gimmick that I always forget. I 99 out of 10 times I play Drew Gulak, and I played a lot of them early on. I forget my gimmick, like that +1 bonus to the turn roll. Like, okay, like what can you do?
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
happens.
yeah, it happens all the time. All right. So, any final thoughts, Dustin, while we're getting
Man,
close
I
to
just
ending?
want to say it's a pleasure having you on here. I appreciate you being on the show and everything you've said. Especially at, towards the last part that meant a lot to me. I just want to say that 2021, like I said, I hope to see you more in person. Man, I miss all you Louisville guys. Which Louisville's always had my heart since the day y'all started. So y'all mean the world to me. I appreciate all of y'all.
Well, thanks, Dustin. Yeah, we miss having you up here, and we miss kind of having live events ourselves. We haven't got to have a whole lot with the the whole pandemic situation, and I think everybody feels the same way. We all just want to basically hug it out. We all want to see each other. Basically, we want a grand gathering so we can all see each other and just hug and fist bump and chest bump and whatever.
Yeah, just get back to the real social nature of the game, because the internet does not actually. Some of that's very much lost over the internet. But
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. It was great. I mean, we could probably do about 2 more hours if we really wanted to.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
you guys know I can talk. I got two personalities worth of talking to me.
Yeah, and I imagine this will be one of those ones we end up coming back to down the road at some point. I think.
I
Just
could
to,
do a 2 hour like
I,
dating advice for later on
I mean,
with you.
we almost accidentally did an hour on Green Arrow. So uh, I mean, I had to ignore some of the people in the chat going back with it too, just so we didn't keep going on that tangent. Uh, but it's always
Like I
fun
said,
getting to know it.
it's a pleasure, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I've only got one last closing thing I guess to say,
All right.
and that's just to remind everybody to make 21, 2021, make that be all about the ladies, for the ladies.
Definitely for the ladies.
Then we got Valentine's Day coming up.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, Valentine's Day. That is definitely for the ladies.
Yeah. Every day in 2021 should be Valentine's Day then. It's all
Harvey
about
looks
for the
like
ladies.
Santa Claus on Valentine's Day. He be slipping it out our windows and chimneys and everywhere. Giving presents everywhere.
See, whenever I do that, I get like a piece of paper telling me never to go back. So,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I
Oh
mean,
man.
uh, yeah. All right, Dustin, if you want to mention on air who our next guest will be, and then we will.
Next, our our next episode, I'm sorry, is gonna be Anthony. I'm sorry if I butcher this. I can't ever like say it. Harap, a wrap up. I'm sorry.
You should have just stopped when the dog barked and pretended that you said it, because it would have been
Yes.
perfectly timed.
I think it may not be pronounced that way, but it is spelled like Hapapuro.
I'm sorry if I butchered that. I did want to butcher your name. But yes, Anthony is going to be on our show next week.
Otherwise known as Finland.
Yes.
The
Also known as Finland. I should have said Finland, but
I mean, I'll take the easier name.
yeah. I'm sorry about that, bud, if you're watching. But I can't wait to have you on for next week. You can go off on me if you need to.
Yeah. Well, we can have a whole segment of him teaching you how to say his name.
Yes. I will go back to spelling.
Well, it's more reading and pronunciation than
Well,
spelling, but you know,
comprehension.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry about my dogs, folks.
Oh no, I
But
mean, I think they're trying to teach you how to say his name as well. Um, all right, folks. Well, thank you for this week again. Thank you, Greg, for being on the show. It was great,
thank you, Greg.
and we will
Glad,
see you
glad you had
next.
me.
Yeah, and we'll see you all next time.
Till next time.